think we're ready to go here. I'll call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Rules Committee of the Representative Town Meeting, Darien. First order of business is I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of November 17, 2025.
Moved.
A second, please. Lois. Woo. All right. Any changes, questions, issues? Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I see none. And just a note, I've had so much fun working with my email address list. It's about 50% correct. So it was a little weird there sending out emails to all of you, and I apologize. I'm working with, I'm trying to use ct.gov, but when they update or change the emails, it doesn't seem to arrive in my distribution, and I apologize for that. I'm working on it. Okay, I threw in a gratuitous update from the Technology Committee, but Lois, no. I checked with Krista about members that needed to be assigned to committees, and she said we're up to date. So that's a good thing. I put that down there just for the, just in case there were some loose ends.
I'm going to make a comment on this. Appendix B specifically says that the assignment by committees are done by the rules member of that committee.
Not to just wait.
Wait, you mean the district?
The district assigns people to committees.
Right.
It does not say any place in Appendix B that one needs to have more than one person on a committee.
We know that.
I am not sure that that is what happened at the last meeting. So I'm just making a
I'm not sure
comment.
when you say that that's what happened, I mean, that's just saying, I'm not sure that's the right phrase. I mean, it's not about what happened. We discussed it and we made decisions. I don't
For
think-
somebody else's committee, for somebody else's district.
No, not somebody else. It was the whole rules committee did, including that individual. They
Right.
weren't excluded from the discussion or the vote.
It's not that. The actual member of the rules from that district do the assignments.
You mean the two?
The two people, not the whole rules committee. It's the two people that are responsible for that. That's what the ordinance in Appendix B states. So what's done is done, all right? But I know there was discussion on that. But I'm just saying that, you know, people are entitled to their opinions. But if that district made the assignment to somebody's number one decision, that should be sufficient for this committee. So you can disagree, but
But
you're,
that's not our practice. Our practice is
I don't go by practice, I go what the law says.
only because it suits you today for that reason.
No, it doesn't. It's not because it suits me today.
Then there's
It's
no
because
reason
we
for the rules committee to
specifically
meet
made
on
that.
that. We should submit them and just put them out.
Yeah,
That's what I was just gonna
We should
say.
change
Well,
appendix
be
B.
here.
Sounds like you need to change appendix B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like that.
Then volunteer to do it.
Well-
It took me 2 years.
We may
Your
have
experience, Jack.
hang on to your hats, because we can have an opportunity to do that.
And you can.
No,
I appreciate the input.
I'm only giving input on that, all right? So, you know, I'm more than willing to take the person on. The problem is we still have to see that he's willing to make the commitment to what the meetings are.
I thought that this special, at least with our District 6, Peter and I, we had discussed where we wanted it to go. And other people were making advice or counseling. They're not telling us to do something, they're suggesting or putting things forward for us to consider. So I don't know if that falls in
No, that-
review or not, but that's my take on it.
Okay. At any rate, we're up to date according to town clerk. So next item is approve a $27,000 special appropriation request for updating the property and topographic survey at Great Island. Committees, we have Park and Rec and, or something like that?
Park and
or-
Rec has nothing to do with.
Not
Great
them,
Island. Public Works
Public
is
Works,
primary
yeah.
because this is coming from Ed.
yeah.
F&B is secondary because it deals with money. I also would suggest that we put PZ&H on it because every time we go into Great Island, somebody comes up with some zoning issue. And,
Oh, I'm with you.
so it's just as well to have that. One of the things that I've discussed with a couple of people here, which was raised, I believe, by Dan Baumgartner during the Board of Finance meeting, there has to be a decision made at the Board of Finance coming up shortly. And from speaking to Jim Halen, I know Jim believes that any expenses going forward on Great Island should have both the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the RTM approval. Where it gets a little bit tricky is that this $27,000 qualifies for access under the original bond, all right? So in theory, they could have taken it out of what appears to be $4 million that is unassigned.
Mhm.
Where that gets a little bit more complicated is that if everything going forward is going to be coming to the RTM, then that means there's about $4 million that the Board of Finance has to make a decision on because it's unassigned money, and Dan raised this appropriately, to whether or not that should be rescinded prior to going and bonding 30-year, $49 million bonds, which also means we have to figure out where we're paying off the $3 to $4 million that still remains that's unassigned. So I'm just putting that out there. I haven't had a chance to speak to Jim or Dan because it was the holidays, but, you know, Dan raised it appropriately so.
Yeah, they did vote on it though, Board of Finance.
Yeah, they voted to push it forward
Yeah.
because there is a belief that everything should be coming also to the RTM.
Yeah.
But it's the remaining money there, what are we
Right.
doing with that? Do we want to bond $4 million that's unassigned for the next, costing us money for the next 30 years? So,
So
since
Jackie,
everything else we do
Question.
20-year bonds on.
Do we have to bond it now, or could we just wait
No.
till we need it?
No, it's being bonded in April. So
Okay.
so they're going to be discussing it in March timeframe, February, March. But it's one of the things that I know they'll be considering in going forward. I just want to put that out there, that there's been a cognizant decision, and I know Jim Palin feels strongly in the conversations that I've had with him, that everything going forward on Great Island will go to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and the RTM, which is why Dan raised that you have this money out there, and what are we going to do with it? So, you know, kudos to Dan for raising it. But it's something that they will have to address as opposed to, we have to bond the 49 because we've had 2 years of bans on it, and now it's time to put it into action. So,
Thanks.
And you made the point that we need the topographical survey to do it, and that's why we need to move forward. As
Right,
Mark
right.
very well knows, yeah.
What I would like to do before we set the agenda is move to business that came to me after we met and published the agenda. The Rules Committee voted its agenda, and then I got a call from the first selectman asking if he could address the RTM about some ideas he has to improve the town, just the way that the town operates. And so I bring that to you to add to the agenda. I think this is not something that the first selectman does on his own. I think anything that is found to improve the operation of the town will involve changing the charter, changing the code of ordinances. Clearly, it falls within the legislative branch to be involved. And so I think that's an important thing. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to put this, his address obviously on the RTM agenda. But also, I think we need to get into managing this process ourselves. And I think it would be a good idea for us to have a committee that works with the first selectman on the whole discovery process and then coming to some conclusions about what changes need to be made. I got involved with rewriting the charter and the code many years ago. When I was on the Board of Selectmen. It took us 2 years, and it was a complex and difficult experience, and one person can't do it. It took a whole, actually had 2 different committees. We had a committee on the Board of Selectmen and then another committee that was a Charter Revision Commission. And so what I would also propose is to have a special meeting of this body, the Rules Committee, to talk about this item and just how are we going to manage this, how are we going to be involved, and what's the most effective thing that we can do to interface with the board, with the first selectman. I certainly give him kudos for saying, okay, I'm going to grab the bull by the horns and go for it. But definitely we have to be actively involved in this.
Isn't that TGSNA?
Yes, but
As a
it's
lead, but there's a lot of areas that are going to be involved in this that is going to need technical expertise. So one of the things that I mentioned to John that has been out there is that should the Board of Finance or the RTM reject an operating budget on budget date, there are no state laws to dictate what should be done. There's a lot of wives' tales, which we all lived by, but it's not state law. And so we were in the process of starting to do that, and Kate announced that she was going to Greenwich, and so John asked me to pull that. So John already has that on his list, but that's going to probably require members of Jen, Josh, members of the Board of Finance, and members of F&B to discuss what we, and Rich Rudel from the Board of Ed, to discuss what we think should be done, and then throw that over the fence to TGSNA saying, this is what we need to put into law. That's just one example on the financial side, but there's others that are there where the technical expertise of the various committees will be really driving the content, and TGSNA.
So they come in at the finish line to get the wording right and to work with town council, I would think, to come up with the changes that are legally in line with state statutes and every other kind of statute you can think of. But I think to identify the problems and deal with them will take a diverse group. People who have expertise in a variety of different areas, because this government is complex. If you've never ever really gotten into it, I spent a year recruiting for the Republican Town Committee, recruiting people to fill slots. And that's when you find out how many different aspects of this government there are, and how many volunteers are involved, and how many different ways of operating are involved. So it's a complex thing, and I think picking a good group of people would be very important. So I thought, well, let's have a special meeting to just do this, and everybody put their thinking caps on, talk around, and see if we're putting a committee together, who ought to be on it, who has the time, interest, and capability of really taking this thing on. And then we can also talk to John about working out interface. He was saying, for example, he's going to send out a questionnaire and have it all come back to him. Well, I think it's broader than that. I think it has to come back to us as well. And then we figure out, what the hot items are and what are achievable and what are not.
I think we should include answer the question yourself.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to state something else. I'm not sure what the goal is. If the goal is, which I would support, increasing the effectiveness and efficiency of town government, then not all the things that need to be accomplished require changes to ordinances and the charter. Like, I'll give one that you and I talked about earlier, which we now have the power to do should it come up again. But the RTM has been excluded from every Board of Ed building committee. That has created problems. So we want to make sure that that's accomplished. Now, if this town decides it's not, then what we have to do is amend the appropriation and bonding resolution to say, oh, by the way, you're also adding an RTM member to that building committee. I also believe that based upon my experience with building committees, the charge for those need to be tightened and at least have a little bit better definition of what's going on, as well as my conversation with several people. There are other things that are involved, like having postmortems after large projects to understand what contingencies we used on the owner's side, on the builder's side, what we got back or anticipate we're getting back from the state, and how does that really affect what we're actually bonding there. So we don't run in that we've actually bonded things of which we didn't have to. But also have an understanding what the contingency was used for, because the contingency is there for unexpected increased expenses, not as a slush fund.
Well, I think that points out why diversity in the group and having a diverse group of capabilities in the group that represents the representative town meeting would be important. And so I think we need a special meeting just to do that.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to give you some think time. The first selectman doesn't make his address until the 26th, so we have a little time to breathe here, but yeah, I think it would be good to.
I was gonna say, it makes sense to do it after he speaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that we could hear what he has to say and then use that to inform our conversation.
Well, or if we do it ahead of time, then we would be informing him of what we're thinking. Because right now, it's pretty much one-way thinking. It's pretty much his, there's nothing in here that I've seen anyway that talks about, well, how do you get it done? And
I would think he's been putting a little more effort in that.
Yeah.
And it
I
has-
guess
there
I
has to be-
personally want to hear what he has to say before knowing how to react, but I understand the other side of that.
which way do you want to roll the dice?
I would do it after we heard what he had to say, but again, I can understand the other side of the argument, but that's what I would do.
Yeah,
I
Just
would
one
also
voice.
think that it's worthwhile to hear what it is, but there's a document that I'm actually sending to John, which I believe will probably precipitate with a subsequent meeting. There is a comment, because I know I've listened to some commissions lately who, or committees, who have no idea of what the role of the RTM is. And so, I mean, seriously. And so part of what makes it more efficient is to have them educated
Yes.
on what we can and can't do.
in the process, yeah.
Right.
And what they can and cannot do.
Right. In addition, there's certain things here that have me concerned, all right? Because I don't know what the end game really is. As I said,
Right.
not everything is an ordinance, and if it's an ordinance or charter, it comes back to us. But, you know, the RTM has initiated certain things. And I remember I had a meeting with the chair who was complaining that the F&B does the same thing as the Board of Finance. Why do they need us? Serious conversation. And I looked at the individual and said, the RTM typically gets involved when members of the legislative body believe that the board, commission, or committee didn't do their blooming job, and therefore we're stepping in. I used another word there.
He promised me he was gonna edit. So
Right.
I-
The fact of the matter is, the reason we now bond fire engines is because the Board of Selectmen were manipulating the accrual on a year-to-year basis. And the accrual is going to grow into an enormous assigned fund balance. We cleaned up reserve accounts that should have been cleaned up, not by John because he took over and was more than willing to work with us on that. But that generated over $3 million of funds. We had 7 years after Superstorm Sandy, $250,000 sitting out in the reserve there. So there's a lot of other instances where the RTM, not just F&B, but other committees get involved. I still believe that the Public Works talking about sidewalks helped create the new sidewalk committee. And congratulations to John for doing that. But I do think that the conversations are there. So these are areas that there's concern about. We're still talking about the need for an open space strategy that we don't have. So that helps us to slot things in for the developments that they're looking to do, not only at Great Island, but in the parks and other areas. So these are areas that don't require ordinance changes,
Right.
but do increase the efficiency of making this town run better.
So how you codify that becomes a question.
I would also ask if you need to codify it.
You know,
I mean,
But
there's.
how you make it established procedure, let me put it that way.
that board has to accept that as the way that they're gonna do business going forward. Or you do what I do sometimes on financials. I say, can you give F&B the following information on this? And then if they don't want to deal with it, F&B will.
Right. All right, yes, Lois. No.
So when John gives this talk, and the expectation is that we cannot ask questions. But I want to bring that up on the table, that should we be able to ask questions about his talk, if the RTM desires, and then you want to open that up on the table for the group.
May I follow up on that?
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to hear John talk to us first, frankly. You
Well, he
know,
did.
hear what the parameters are.
Us, the Rules Committee, or
Rules
just
Committee.
before he talks to the RTM?
But
He did already
Yes,
at the last meeting.
All right, I follow.
Yeah,
Yeah, two meetings ago.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
actually did it
I
at length,
just-
so you
I
can
read
go
that.
back.
Okay. Thank you.
And it was helpful, yeah. And the one other thing, he encouraged all of us, and that's why he wants to talk to the RTM. He was talking to the other bigger boards, Board of Finance and some of the other commissions, and saying, we want your feedback. And so, yes, 2 meetings ago, if you go through it, you'll be able to hear it. He gave some specific examples.
And to build on Patty,
Yeah.
John's email that he sent out to us did say, if you have questions, please give them to us. Because having worked with John for many years, I find him to be very receptive to hearing what the question is and then incorporating in what he's going to be discussing.
Yeah, I got the sense it's still evolving.
Yes,
Right.
It was
well, it's
still
gonna be a
room for
full
input.
year, so the purpose of this, and what he talked about, was he wanted to get information, get feedback from all these different groups, commissions, et cetera. Recall that he said, and, we'll be looking at this as a year project.
Right, because it's going to be his
Yeah.
and the Board of Selectmen's decision if they want to reduce or eliminate a board or commission or merge them together. That's not an RTM decision, really. That's really the administration's decision.
And to speak about that, like the Conservation Committee that they're discussing right now, but it looks like it just got tabled, somebody texted me. That's an example where that could potentially take on some things that Parks and Rec is doing, but it's not really their expertise. And so if they create a conservation commission down the line, the first year they're looking at doing a committee to advise what a commission would look like. That can lighten the load of one commission and have them focus really on things that are Parks and Rec, and not the overall reaching. I feel like the open space strategy, and a lot of that's gonna tie in with the conservation.
Yeah, but
Plus,
the
we have the
open
big
space,
ADA.
You need
we have
the open space first because it's not just conservation.
Yes,
The other thing I will say, and this is what Amy has said, and in going to Amy's meeting, and I think Jeremy mentioned it at the last,
can you say which
But-
Amy so people know?
Amy said that.
Okay, because there's
I
seven.
think Amy said it at one of the budget meetings last year when Jeremy was there. Jeremy reports to the planning and zoning and the land use boards all the things that they've done during the course of the year consistent with the plan of conservation and development. There's nobody who's checking on the conservation side of the plan of conservation and development and seeing how we're racking up on that, which would be part of what it is. Now, some of it overlaps with P&Z, but not all of it. So, while Jeremy is focused, and I think he said he did like 170 actions that he reported on, that there's not somebody in town who's responding on the other side completely. And I think that's what precipitated John considering that this was something that was needed.
Right, okay. Beth, I don't want you left out because you're up there on the screen. Have you, I just want to make sure I'm watching in case you have a question or a thought.
I mean, I actually support the idea of having a special meeting of the Rules Committee, but I do think I'd like to hear what's said first so that we can be more focused.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with that. I'm also, somebody had asked, maybe it was Jack, I'm really not clear what the purpose of this is. Like, somebody mentioned how complex our government process is. Is our intent to simplify that process? Or is the intent to make that complicated process work more efficiently, as complicated as it is? It's not clear to me what direction we're headed. So again, I'd like to hear what John's got to say before you move ahead.
Okay, well, from what I've heard, it's trying to make things more efficient, and he's seen things now that he feels ought to be changed. And I think he would talk in much more detail about that in his address. And I hear you, so we'll wait to see, we'll have the address and then talk about how we get together after that.
Sorry, let me just say this one thing. I don't think it's just efficient. I think it's going John and what he tries to do. There's two words there. It's to make it more effective and efficient. Those are two different things. So when he wants for the land use, he's mentioned that there's all these land use boards and nobody knows really where to go, and he wanted one group that you can go to do it. That's making government more effective as opposed to necessarily more efficient. So I think that it's advisable that we're using both of those words. When I'm writing my email to John, I'm putting both in.
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Yes, Lois.
Since what I'm hearing around the table, and certainly where my head is, not clear what he's trying to, with specific ideas, but a little one level below that. Maybe if some of us have questions or thoughts on what we would like him to cover in the presentation, to be more specific or to give some guidance, that may be also what he's asking for, as opposed to solving the problem.
Well, he did ask for items that he thought
Yeah.
at the end of the
Yeah.
year. I missed that deadline. I had other things to do. So it's going to get by the end of this year.
No, I don't mean about the things that need to be changed in the charter and stuff, but my question is, what is he trying to accomplish and what are the specifics on that, so that we can respond and say, this is how we want to participate or what we think. But that's up to us individually, but anyway, that's my suggestion.
But he was asking maybe something that he hadn't even thought of, that somebody might have something to contribute.
Those are two separate things.
Yeah.
One is about the talk in January so that we clearly understand what we think he's talking about. The other one is what do we think needs to be addressed? And those are two separate points.
So, I'm gonna mention something else when we get into, talking about the last item. You're suggesting that he talks number 4, and they have a meeting on the same day that we have our RTM meeting. It also, as I just found out earlier today, it's the day that the town administrator was presenting the town administrator's budget to the Board of Selectmen.
At night? That's at night?
Same night. So we should be cognizant of where we put him, because he may still be in a meeting.
Happy days. Well, we can put it in at number 4 and move it.
Well, we can put him last.
If he's not, or put him last,
That's
he
what he
may,
wants to do.
Well, I think, I do based on, I will say based on the last time that he spoke, which was very informative, but we had, the meeting went so long, so his information was very informative, but by the time we were getting to the harbor ordinance vote, which we had worked on for close to a year, there, a percentage of people had left. And so
we will.
that, so I would
when
say,
it
let's do
comes
business
time,
first.
We will have a time limit.
Well, or I would
No.
just say, let's do our business first.
There also
All right.
is not a lot of business to be done,
Yeah.
because I was just up at
It's
the meeting
it's a light
upstairs,
menu.
and I have a comment on number 7. On your.
Okay, okay. All right, so we'll move first selectman last. Okay, just making sure I got that right.
Seth, one of the things I'd like to suggest, Jack mentioned doing postmortems. ARPA ended December 31st. When would we be ready to give an update of how where the ARPA money went and how we used it, and was there anything left? And
We should see that at the Board of Finance's meeting, which I believe might be the 16th or the 15th. No, this month. Because that should have December's results in there. And there's always in that package an ARPA accountability on it. So the last I looked is that, we might.
I heard Jeff say they're wrapping it up and there were a couple of items, but it'd be interesting to look back 2 years, because
Yeah.
there was a lot of time and money and a lot of tax dollars that
Yep.
didn't come out of our pockets, that did a lot of things in town, and we should review it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that the ARPA committee did a really good job of keeping people updated. You could watch their meetings. They came and spoke and gave updates on it. And when it looked like we could lose money, if we didn't use it in time,
Speaking of the devil.
the updates happened. The money was moved and it was shifted. Like if a project was gonna take a lot longer than expected and wasn't gonna make the ARPA deadline for it to be completed, then those things were pulled off and rolled over. Like
Right.
some of Public Works stuff that wasn't gonna get done, Parks and Rec benefited from that because we were able to move some of those things in to get covered.
But again, the report on a monthly basis is in the Board of Finance packet.
Yeah.
That talks exactly what's been spent, what, if there's like a couple of pennies that we didn't spend. So John, we were just talking about you.
Wait, but
Okay.
before you go off that,
Yeah,
we would like to put that
If we
on
put on
the
the agenda, who would
agenda
present?
Yeah.
for February. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
February, I typically go and give a report on the first 6 months of the Board of Ed and the town, but I could add ARPA to that.
Jan 20th is the Board of Finance meeting.
Yeah, I knew it
Okay.
was someplace around there. So,
Do you want to do it, or should the Board of Finance do it?
no,
No.
it's not the Board of Finance, we're the liaison between them.
Okay,
All right, let's
then we can do it.
keep it with where
Well,
it is. It's not a tough report because it's been out there,
It's been updated periodically.
every month.
It's easy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it makes sense for,
So,
So
and
we'll
I
include it.
typically report,
So you'll incorporate it in your February presentation on
Yeah,
finances?
yes.
Got it, okay.
So, John, here was part of the question, we haven't gotten to number 7 yet. On the 26th,
Yes.
Jen is presenting the town administrator's proposed budget to the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Are you anticipating other things on that meeting date or just
So I
that?
talked to her, we're gonna keep that meeting very light and short, so I would have time to do this.
Okay, because we didn't know if we should put you really early on or whether or not we should have
We
you
were
last.
gonna put you right up front, but,
Well,
No,
the meeting starts at 7:30,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, so the Board of Selectmen starts at 7.
yeah.
So if we were to delay me a little bit, I might actually get through the Board of Selectmen meeting before I can talk to you guys. But we get through the meat of that agenda, and I could come in and talk, so you have to put me right
Well,
up.
chances are I'm going to be with you.
Well, that's the whole point, so we
Yeah.
both want to be at both meetings.
So have it later in the agenda.
Yeah,
Well, I guess the other way is to put it in last and then move it up if he arrives,
yep.
And
whenever
then
he
most of the
arrives.
stuff is pretty short, we don't see
these aren't-
participate in
Okay, which brings us to number 7.
Easements
is the-
for Eversource are on town property abutting 1 and 3 Parkland
it.
Drive.
Okay?
So, I was listening to the meeting upstairs, and I just left when they were voting, but I believe that the Eversource is currently tabled because there's some language that they're working on that may be available prior to our meeting,
All right,
all right? Couple of problems here. Their meeting is on the 26th, which would mean that if they deal with it on the 26th, then that, we would find out about that.
So
That
we
would
won't
be
do
part.
that, we'll call a special meeting, get the
Okay.
documents, if we get the documents, they're there to our satisfaction and to Ian's satisfaction. She actually raised some good points. There's been more activity since that email. I think if you and I sync up, and Jen and town council, and we get all that sorted, then we would call a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen to quickly approve that, so that you guys would have it in time to consider it on the 26th.
And that's
All right.
what actually I was going to talk to you about, because I believe your next meeting is this Thursday.
Correct.
Which, if you get it in time, would mean that you would have a special meeting of your committee to address that if you so desire.
We'll get the agreement from the developer for landscape maintenance. I don't know if we're gonna have one from Eversource. We'll see. I don't know.
Okay. I'll discuss with John and see if I need
Right.
to postpone my PZNH meeting. As of right now, I don't have a quorum anyway, so I may have to postpone that Thursday meeting.
All right, well, all I was doing is, from
Yeah.
speaking there, it's big that you're the only committee to be assigned to that last thing, and that you're already working on it, that this is totally at your discretion if you want it. No, seriously, John even said, it's at your, at their meeting, it's at your discretion if you feel it's appropriate to table this at the RTM meeting.
Okay, well,
So
we'll see
the
how
two
far
of
we
you
get.
are in charge.
Okay.
She'll see all this stuff before we vote
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
if we're voting on it, she's satisfied with it, so. Okay. You need me for anything else?
so we're moving it to the end, and then we'll move them up depending on when he arrives.
Right, and we'll keep this on our agenda, the Eversource, but depending upon what the outcome is, it may be removed prior to us issuing. Now, that raises another thing, because typically, we're mailing the agenda for the RTM with documents the Thursday before the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we should be able to mail it a week earlier,
Yeah,
so that people have an opportunity to look at what's in that package as opposed to over the weekend.
I was actually
I can do it.
I was gonna ask that question sort of separately. I'm not really sure I understand why we don't send out the agenda to the full RTM almost right after we vote on the agenda at the
We're saying
Rules
the same
Committee.
thing.
So it really almost comes a month before the meeting, because part of this is also, if I'm on a committee that isn't assigned to a matter and I'm interested in it, I might, if I see that it's on the agenda, I might then make more of an effort to attend or watch the video of a committee's meeting that is the one that's assigned, so I have a little more background before the RTM meeting. If we wait until right before the meeting, we don't give people time to kind of think about that. If the agenda's set once we vote on it, there's no reason it can't go out
It's
immediately.
not set, that's what we're finding, is that stuff is coming up after we
Well-
vote the agenda, and so you wind up standing before the body and saying, we want to add this. It's.
Well, you can send out a second package, but with what we have set here, so there already is a write-up on the 27,000. By the way,
Right.
we also assigned your committee to that.
Yep.
Lucky.
Because some, as we said, it's something always comes up on code in Great Island. And the topographical information is already available, so we can send that out. And since Amy will be describing what the end result is and other things like that, that allows us to go out.
Definitely can
And so,
send.
no
that
later
stuff
than
out.
next Monday, this should be out in people's hands.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, I mean,
have it, and if I have it, I send it out. But, for example, on this easement, I got a memo on, well, what was it, Wednesday afternoon, about 4 in the afternoon, after we published this thing, saying, I need to add this, it's critical. Well, it hadn't been really settled. First of all, it hadn't been actually voted by the board of selectmen yet. I put it on anyway because it's coming, and because of our own timing, I didn't want to, Jen Charneski sent me the note. She said, this is important, we need to have it in the January meeting. I said, okay, but now we've
So we
got further stuff. The stuff that she sent me as backup is
Yeah.
probably not valid because it's going to change.
Yeah.
So you get into this, I get in this bind about, well, when do I send it out and figure that I've given you guys the right stuff, you know?
Right,
Well,
but
maybe we could send out at a minimum, maybe right after we vote, we can send out just the agenda so people know what's
Without the
coming.
attachments.
We don't
Well-
have to send all the attachments out right away.
But if we have the attachment for the 27, we can do that. And even if nothing else, we can put the map in from the.
I certainly could send out the agenda and everything that I've got so far.
Well, you can hold up on the memo, but there's a map in there that shows what area we're talking
Well,
about.
I'm talking globally,
Agenda,
you're
yeah.
talking specifically about this
Yeah,
month. I mean, I
yeah,
think we can have a conversation month to month about what we send out at a time.
Right.
What I'm more saying is more globally, I think it would be a benefit to the RTM as a whole if
Yeah,
the agenda for
I
the
agree.
RTM meeting went out as soon as we voted on it, so they knew it was coming, so people had a chance to ask questions, try to, and we can work on getting the documents. But yes, Seth's totally right. The last thing we want to do is start sending out draft documents that aren't final, because then it just makes everybody confused, and then they've got 46 different copies of an easement.
But if we do have something that.
And then the phone calls start. Seth,
Right, but if.
what are we doing?
If we have a document such as the 27 that was voted on tonight, that should be attached.
If it's done, yeah.
Yeah, it's done, it should go out. The other thing is, when we send out the agenda for the rules, we're sending it to district chairs, board chairs, council, town administrator Chinesky. We should be sending it to RTM committee chairs as well.
All right.
That should be the other group. Now, I know there's 2 or 3 of us here, but the reality is that
I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah,
this way they start to understand what is there and what's not.
Okay, I'll add that in, yeah.
What are we sending, Jack? I missed it.
The rules
Be it
committee
just this
agenda to
agenda.
committee chairs.
you're just
Yeah.
adding,
Yeah,
you're
okay.
adding the
Yeah.
district chairs.
That makes sense.
And the
Well, we
reason
already
is,
have districts, so
Yeah.
these are
I
the
mean,
Makes sense.
RTM committee
committee
chairs.
chairs. I'm
That
sorry.
makes
yeah, yeah.
I also agree with what's been said here about getting the agenda out as soon as we, more or less, we approve it here. I think it'll add transparency. Yes, things come up. God bless you for getting that stuff in last minute. But it'll add some transparency about what you're dealing with, what this committee's dealing with, stuff coming in last minute.
Yes.
For better or worse, I think the transparency will
Okay.
help.
Them to understand.
It
That's
also
great.
gives members an opportunity to increase responsibility, that they know if the hearing, if PZ&H is going to be watching, that they can watch that meeting so that they come to the RTM prepared and not ask questions that were discussed at a committee meeting that they could have watched if they knew that that committee was going to be discussing that item.
And Jack, to your point earlier, for example, with committee chairs, we don't have somebody from education on, Liza
Well-
Lucas, so now she'll always get that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you always forward it. Adele always would
Right.
forward it to our committee for Parks and Rec all the time
So
anyways.
we currently are
But not
missing,
everybody.
we are currently,
chairs do.
where before we had more, we are currently missing Liza, Liza and I have agreed that I will speak to her at the end of every rules committee meeting. We're missing Violet from Public Health and Safety. We're missing Public Works here. We're
Yeah,
missing the
Oh,
chair.
Parks Public Works.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
not
the
the
chair, not the chair.
Oh, but you can forward the
I-
information.
yeah.
Right, like I'm gonna forward
And
information.
we're,
So-
and we're,
yeah.
we're missing TGS&A chair, which used to be on this committee. And, we're missing Park and Rec now also because,
Yes, but Adele and I already sent her this agenda.
I
And I sent
understand,
her
but,
that nothing from Parks
but
and Rec,
this
so we're
shouldn't be
communicating.
based
But that's an
upon.
anecdotal communication, it's not a structural
Right.
communication.
No, no.
Right.
Right, so
We'll
that's
do-
why it's great. We're saying the same thing, Jack.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll do
We're
it.
complimenting you
I
for
can
the
get them out
suggestion.
and I will do it
Yes.
and hang on.
Yeah, it might get messy.
The real serious discussion starts after we publish it, you know?
Can I
Okay, yes.
ask one other question about the agenda, the RTM agenda that goes out? Can we add on there what we voted on as far as who's reporting? Because that will help people with knowing which
Yeah.
committees to watch.
Mhm.
The other thing I was gonna add was, does it make sense if there are agenda items for which we are not sending out materials, but that we intend to send out materials, should it be noted that that will be something will be forthcoming, so that we don't get 27 calls about, what does this mean, why am I not seeing X, Y, Z? Does it make sense to note that?
Yes.
Provided it arrives, then the other phone call, so where is it? Yeah.
Well, I think if we could
No,
anticipate
Look,
things
it's,
like that.
now getting it out early would do that.
It makes sense. The answer
We'll do
is
that.
from a
Yeah.
procedural process for opening up the communications, which I think Amy and I and others are talking about. If we don't have anything, the mishmash that happens afterwards, we don't care. You have to be from New York to understand that. But,
We got
Oh, you guys.
but the fact of the matter is that we want to be.
You need to spell that for the minutes, though.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem really comes in.
I can spell
Yeah,
Yiddish.
I'll send it out after the minutes go out, so if they jive.
So just to confirm,
It
what Amy,
means
can I
market
ask,
means
that Amy's
crazy.
suggestion is, so since, one of these items was assigned to
No,
PZ&H,
something
that the chair of PZ&H will be reporting on that, that's what you mean?
Yeah, I
Listed
think
on the agenda,
on the-
that goes out to everybody in the RTM.
On the RTM agenda, it should say primary,
And secondary.
Yeah,
primary and
right.
secondary.
Yeah.
That's an easy, yeah, we just.
That's all part of what we approved, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not an.
And then it should say materials attached or materials to follow.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's a
Maybe that's
major
a-
improvement to the
Materials
rules
to
committee
follow
itself.
when available, because you can't commit, you don't know what's coming when.
Right.
Well, to follow is very indefinite anyway. To follow.
But you're committing that they will come.
2028.
Well, if it doesn't come, then the chances are, if it
You
doesn't
guys
come, the
think you're hearing
chances we're
something
pulling.
and I vote.
Right, but we all know that happens.
Well, but if it doesn't
We are,
come,
but
then that
go
item
ahead.
has to be removed from the agenda, and that'll be the first thing that Seth will
Yeah,
say when he
right.
stands
Yeah.
up.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah, no, that's it.
I have my instructions. We will do that.
So can we
We'll
review,
talk
can
out
we
loud.
review what we decided is the order of the agenda, Seth?
Well, I'm working on this.
Okay.
It's moving with the speed of light.
Did you get the date of in item 3, I think you mean November and not December?
No, this is an RTM meeting approval. I was doing
Okay,
the RTM minutes.
got it. You're right.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I heard.
The easement for Eversource, PZ&H, anybody else?
Nope.
Okay. Good. We also, I'll send a note out, we've got expiring terms on the Board of Ethics, and so we've got to recruit, see if the people want to re-up, and also see if there are new names I'll send a note out to the RTM for those interested, and then we'll do the election with that.
Prior to us voting, can I also make 2 adjustments to this agenda?
Certainly, sir.
On number 6, the number is 26-01. On number 7,
26,000.
no, 26-01.
Oh,
Yep.
On number 7, 26-02, so even if it gets pulled, it comes back at 2602. Last year, we had 2 resolutions.
the
that
same,
were
on the
numbered
same item?
Different items,
Yeah.
because the other one. And so, when we start to see this, we have to be sending it out with the numbers, because I get calls all the time to say, what's the resolution? What's the resolution number?
I got you.
Got it.
I also sent a note to town council telling them that we need resolutions for these.
Yep.
So that's in process. All right, so I'll take a motion. First of all, it's just reviewing the special appropriation request. That's Public Works, F&B, PZ&H, and then just PZ&H for the easement. The order is called the order, and I didn't get, I did a draft, Amy, but it didn't get down to your end of the table.
Okay.
Acceptance of the, call to order, acceptance of the agenda, approved minutes for December 8th. First selectman address has been moved, so the next one would be appoint RTM members in the board of, to the Board of Ethics, do the 27,000, then do the easement, and put the first selectman at the end with the possibility that he would move if he gets there earlier.
Do we have nominees for them already?
For the, not yet, but other than people re-upping, so
Do all the terms in concurrently, or are they staggered?
4.
I believe they're
Yeah, because,
staggered. I don't know. I
Hope
can't answer
moved.
that. I think it's 3 and 2, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember the numbers, but it is staggered.
Is it staggered, or is it all
It was saying it's staggered.
Staggered?
I'm almost positive it's staggered.
So I will get a note, I'll get out in touch with all of the current ones to see if they're re-upping, and also to solicit others from the body.
Please let people know that there's a hope that there are 4 open seats, because that will encourage people to look into that.
Okay, all right.
There
And there's
They're
going
not
to be,
open, I mean, well, yeah, they're open, you're right.
4,
Correct, yep.
and how many of incumbents,
We don't know.
like has anybody left the
Yes.
RTM? That's-
Yeah, both,
Okay, so out of the 4,
Oh,
1
yeah.
has left.
right.
3 are potential
least one is
incumbents.
And then it is subject to minority representation too. All right, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Patty?
Second?
Second, Michael? Further discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed? I see none. I even see 2 people voting from the screen. It's great to see. Terrific. Any other business? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Good. Okay. Peter? Mark? Mark's in the second.
Hey,
All in favor, please rise.
I was listening.